Anybody who has been following me at all, let alone closely, the past few months knows my most favorite and anticipated upcoming hero by a mile is this guy, Beelzebub, aka Bubba. And oh my god, now that Sun Wukong arrived, I think for all of us, he should be the most anticipated hero. For me, he's always been that. This guy is so good. I think he's going to be game-breaking. He's overpowered. He's exciting. I'll get into all of that in a second. However, they just added an exclusive artifact for him, which tells us a lot. First off, it is the newest exclusive artifact added in the entire game. This usually signals that the hero is coming soon. So right off the bat, I want to tell you, it's very likely Bubba over here is coming sooner rather than later. As someone who just used all his summons, that's something I'm going to have to stomach. However, as someone who's been hoarding divines since this guy was announced and has over 50, I'm pretty thrilled. He looks crazy and he should be coming soon. However, on top of all of that, this exclusive is incredibly strong. I would rate it the second strongest exclusive artifact in the game. Currently, I'd say Hexes is number one. This just turns him into a different hero. He no longer takes his sweet time drawing cards. He does it as soon as you need him to, and he becomes so much better at everything. And then I'd say the second best currently is Virna. Her whole issue is she does the soul extraction, she raises her attack, becomes a really good mage, and then she loses it. This lets her never lose it, plus she gets some AoE boosts. I'd say those are the top two. Definitively Hex number one, then I'd say Virna number two. I think Carrion's Call, Bubba, Beelzebub's new exclusive, is decidedly the second best in the game after Hex. If you think there are other candidates, let me know after you see this video. But it is, oh my god, so insane. And it tells us two really important things. This insanely OP hero, top BP candidate in the game. He's a top 5 BP mule in the game with arguably the most potent support kit in the entire game. Just got better, and he is almost certainly coming sooner rather than later. Let's get into it.
Fastidious.
Fastidious.
All right, guys, I don't want to tease you. I don't want to blue ball you any longer. Let me actually show you this artifact. We're not going to go right into it after I show you. I do have to head over to his kit and give you a very quick rundown so it all makes sense. But essentially, it's called Carrion's Call. It's a mythic exclusive. This is an inspiration hero that does tons and tons of support, who has, in theory, some damage potential, but it's completely limited by the fact that if you want to build him for support and build him for inspiration, get that attack to the moon, it's not really conducive to high DPS. This enables DPS to be an option for him, and also, by the way, it cranks his attack to the moon. So unfortunately, I summoned all the Wisdom Meteorite I had trying to get it, so I could show it at promo 1 and promo 5, plus 1 and plus 25. It wasn't possible. I'm almost certain the way this is going to scale is just like a tier of Twilight over here, if I can find that for you, where it starts at 20% damage when deployed, and then there's a second thing, 20% attack boosted when deployed, I should say. I think this is going to be the same thing. There's the second line. I think this will scale up to 30. That's what happens with tier of Twilight. It goes from 20%, then 22, 24, 26, 28, 30. I think this will be the same. So I think this will be a 30% post-deployment attack boost on already the best inspiration hero in the game once he arrives, combined with a lot of things that will allow him to actually deal damage. Crazy stuff. Let's go over the kit so it will all make sense in context. Basically, he's a summoner, he's a support unit, he's an inspiration unit, and he's crazy. He's a cultist. He's hindered by very low base attack. I can show you here, it's 2607. That happens at Awaken level 2. This is an A5 version I'm showing you now. I can show you that A0 version in 1 second. It's 2307, which doesn't sound like much. However, the inspiration contribution is completely and utterly immense, which you'll see. It's second only to Dolores in the game in terms of percentage. However, once you have him A2 and once you get the exclusive artifact on him or a tier of Twilight, he becomes number 1 in the game. Even without A2, with a proper build, he is number 1 in the game with the right artifact, whether that be the tier of Twilight or the exclusive. So he's got this talent here. He deals damage with his summons. They're called putrid flies. They're kind of this like purple-red ball. It's a swarm of flies. They inflict slow on the target. It's great. It's like the most consistent slow you could ever imagine because they do AoE damage. Each one of them, or this mob of them, they're doing multi-target against 5 enemies. It's nuts. I should also mention he has the best range in the entire game. If I go to his ultimate over here, it's on all his skills, but you can see it is a 5x3 range, 5x3 tiles. It is phenomenal. I don't want to do a whole hero breakdown. I've dove deep on him twice before. Go check it out, especially the second video, because that had all the updated, correct information. The original one was the first incarnation before they tweaked some things. But if we just go through it, he deals AoE on his basic. On top of that, he restores 12 extra rage regen for every 5 basic attacks launched. So you want to build this guy really, really fast. Unlike other mages, you can build him lightning quick. It says 1.0 second attack interval here because of what I built upon him. He doesn't have a 2.6 base attack interval. He's like Aeon or Mari because he has that support classification. His base attack interval is 2.0 seconds. So this guy can fly like insane. It is so, so good. So every 5 attacks, which if you build him right, he'll be at a 1.0 second interval or something. Every 5 seconds, he gets another 12 ticks of rage. It's pretty mighty. You can see you can skill that up with your skill ups. The ultimate over here, he summons that cloud of putrid flies at full skill ups. They're going to last. They last for the duration of the ult. They last for 22 seconds. It also creates a crowd control effect, a vortex that pulls 10 enemies max up in towards the middle with 2 times power, so it will bring them from 2 tiles away. It also inflicts slow upon them. This is a big version, 75% slow. He is the best AoE slow hero in the game during this ultimate, full stop. The vortex lasts for 5 seconds, but you'll see they'll keep dealing damage, and then it goes down to a 50% slow, but you still have another 17 seconds of full AoE 50% slow. It's pretty special. If we go to this passive over here, by the way, he's the best AoE magic vulnerability damage hero in the game. So increased magic damage taken to many enemies at once. During the ultimate, the hero and the putrid flies, which by the way, just get 100% of his attributes, and they can hit up to 5 enemies at a time with constant basic attacks. The 2 of them are going to release the Plague of Ruin 1 time every 3 seconds. So you can see they do it on that first second, and then it cycles after. So you actually get, it's 22 seconds it lasts, but it does hit on the first second. So you get a full 8 turns, if that makes sense, because it happens on 1, then 4, 7, 10, 13, 16, 19, and then does finish off at 22. So 8 times in the 22 seconds, this will happen. And every time it does, there's a big AoE burst from all of them, from the flies and from Beelzebub himself, up to 10 targets now, really proper AoE, and you land a 10% increased damage taken. If you get him A1 though, it becomes 20%, and that's to everyone. It's just full AoE. We don't have anything like that in this game. The closest would be Mari, but hers is kind of coming and going with her multi-target, even though it is very good. His is just there, and it's great. Eventually you'll get true damage from this, which is quite significant because you build a lot of attack on him from his A5, but that's way down the road. But you can see very nice, consistent uptime on the AoE on the AoE vulnerability at base level, and then just get him A1, which is something people should be hunting for. You should hunt for a minimum of A2, but really his A3 is the most broken. This is crazy. And then finally, if we go to this last ability, during his ultimate, there's a 50% inspiration to all allies in the hero's skill range. You can build this guy pretty darn high. He has like almost the exact same attack as Dolores at A2. It's 300 less at A1 or A0. But remember, Dolores, the best case, she's getting 5% from the Golden Scarab, or she's getting 16% from the much lower base stat Epic Artifact Keen Wisdom. He's getting 30% from Tier of Twilight or his exclusive, so he becomes numero uno, and then at A2+, he's just insane. And yeah, it's pretty wild. It also reduces the attack interval of any allied summons, so if Ymerit was also there, you run him with Anora, which so many people will do in Guild Wars. All the attack intervals drop by 30%, so they will be far more frequent. He's just a crazy hero. Awakening so quickly, A1, the vulnerability jumps from 10% to 20, so 10% more damage taken, magic damage, plus 300 base attack. This is enormous for an inspiration hero. The A3 I told you is broken. Every single basic attack that deals any damage, which is any basic attack that he's doing and is landing, will restore 2% rage. That is not 2 ticks of rage. That is 2% of his rage bar. So if we go over here, he's a pretty low cost, or I say maybe not low cost, mid cost, reasonable cost, 900, just like Dolores. However, every single basic attack, which with a good build is 1 every single second, will restore 18 more rage. And every 5 seconds, every 5 of those, there'll be another 12. So that's really good. That's 102 rage every 5 seconds. He's additionally getting, not counting passive generation from his Rage Regen auto, not counting when he gets attacked, not counting from Hollow or Eloin or Laurel. He ults even more frequently than Dolores at A5 with her exclusive. It's insane. So he's giving inspiration as frequently as anyone in the game, and he's giving the best one once you build him right. The A4, you can see he reduces his cost, which makes him really, really cheap. I'll show you that in 1 second. And then finally, if the target receives 2 instances of Plague of Ruin within 3 seconds, so that thing that's happening from him and the flies during his ultimate that comes from his passive, they're also going to take instances of true damage. You're going to build a lot of attack on him. So it is really, really nice. It ignores all the defenses, all the magic resistances, can't crit, but it is really good. I told you I'd show you that cost. His cost is down to 8 if you get him at Awaken level 4, but even at base Awakening, it's only 10 costs. So not as insanely cheap as Dolores. There'll still be content where Dolores is really good and needed, but for so much stuff, like everything in PvP, Arena, and in GVG, he becomes so usable and so elite. Obviously, he's a god for PvE. That 5x3 range is crazy. So what makes this artifact so flipping exciting? Sorry I had to explain all that, but I want you guys to have a proper baseline to understand why this is so nutty. If you're building him with a 1.0 second attack interval, he needs like 450 attack speed plus, so 350 additional. That's pretty hard. You want him ulting all the time, so even with the crazy stuff from his kit, from the periodic rage regeneration that comes with his basic attacks, you know, even if you have him A3, the extra 2% every single basic he's dealing damage, even with all that, you're going to want to build rage regen percentage on him. And then obviously, he can't be too brittle. He needs some tankiness. And most important by a mile, attack has to go to the moon. So you need attack bonus everywhere. You need flat attack everywhere. With all that stuff, he becomes kind of stat hungry if you have any dreams of him dealing damage. Keep in mind, he'll never be an elite damage dealer because inspiration heroes cannot receive inspiration. So it's not like Dolores can give him inspiration or vice versa, or he can give it to himself. However, if only he could just crit, he could actually deal some really interesting damage. And that's exactly what this does, on top of being the best thing to push his attack all the way to the moon in the game. Because keep in mind, Tear of Twilight does come with the caveat, if we go to Tear of Twilight down here, that yes, it's 20% up to 30% when his health is 80% or higher. But if that ever drops, the effect is cut in half. So it's 10% and then 15% at max promo. This is just permanently, the second it's on, it's 30%. The second line has nothing to do with it. So it's the best, biggest boost of an attack situation you could give any inspiration hero in the game. And then now, when you summon those putrid flies, it's hard to know because I can't test it because I don't have it, but it's going to be one of two things. So I'll tell you the worst version and the best version. Even the worst version is crazy. So there are enemies in range. He triggers his ultimate. The flies are summoned. Now it's saying within 5 seconds, it deals 30% increased damage and it guarantees a crit. Beelzebub guarantees a crit on enemies damaged by putrid flies within 5 seconds and deals 30% increased damage. So the worst version is, for the first 5 seconds of them being summoned, every hit they do is a guaranteed crit. So all those flies, they're going to have a 1.0 second interval. If you build that on Beelzebub, they get the same stats, so they'll get that. They're going to have increased damage, and they're all crits. So you don't have to worry about crit rate at all. The better version is, as long as they damage something within those first 5 seconds, all subsequent hits will be guaranteed crits. So hard to know what it is without testing it, but regardless, it's either a very significant damage boost or a tremendous damage boost, one way or another. So I'm going to ask the devs to send me this on test server so I can show it off. One way or another, it turns him into a great like secondary sub DPS. It gives him an option. He's not going to be your Virna, he's not going to be your Comet or your Anora, but he can fill in all the gaps you need. He can be really pesky. In Guild Wars, this damage easily could be the damage that just ruins the other team. Keep in mind, all the damage he's doing and his putrid flies are doing is going to be onto enemies that are under magic vulnerability, since he's placing it on all of them. They're going to be slowed since he's slowing all of them. So he's going to get boosts as a cultist. He's going to get boosts as a magic damage dealer. It's really, really punishing. It obviously synergizes perfectly with everyone else as well. And it's like the perfect artifact. It's crazy. This Carrion's Call for Bubba over here is a total game changer. Anyone that was on the fence and thought, oh, maybe he'll be good, but Fastidious is overhyping him, or this person's overhyping him, or I don't buy into it, I hope now you do. Save your Wisdom Forge materials, go get this, and have your mind blown. The fact that it was added, let's finish off with this, the fact that it was added means he should be coming soon. They added him to test server at the end of August, beginning of September, then radio silence. Now, all of a sudden, this was just added. This is freaking awesome. This artifact is crazy. I cannot wait to get this hero. I'm saving everything moving forward for this little freak. Bubba is coming home, hopefully to all of your accounts as well. Thank you so much for watching. I've been Fastidious. If you like my stuff, please like it, subscribe to the channel, let me know your thoughts in the comments, share with your mother, and I'll see you real soon. Bye.
Fastidious.